Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. It's always good spending time with you. Today I want to encourage someone who has a dire need, and I want to share with you a personal experience that I had that I am sure will encourage your heart. It was 22 and a half years ago, but it is still very relevant today. Back then, I was a young married woman and I really wanted a child. I was about 4 years or so into my marriage, and I would have been trying to get pregnant for a while. But on Mother's Day 2001, it was especially difficult for me. I went to church. There was the usual grand celebration, and at the end of the service, the preacher asked if there was anyone who has been trying to get pregnant and was unsuccessful. He encouraged them to come to the altar for prayer. I swallowed my pride and I went to the altar. And at the end of the service, someone came up to me and asked if I had ever considered adoption. I have no problems whatsoever with adoptions, but I had not accepted the fact that I couldn't get pregnant. From that day, I decided that I was going to knock on heaven's door so hard, and I wouldn't stop knocking until God hears and answers my prayer. So every night I will go before God and I would have my usual teary-eyed prayer sessions. I remember that it was on the 3rd of June, after my husband would have left for work, he was on the night shift, that I took a Bible, I read it, and I knelt down in my living room and I started praying and asking God to bless my womb and grant me the desire of my heart. I remember that I went in my mind's eye back to the village that I grew up in, and I started calling the names of all of the women that I knew would have given birth, and I'm saying to God, if you can bless this person, surely you can bless me. It was around midnight when I got up and I was heading towards the kitchen sink to wash the dishes before I retire for bed, when I audibly heard, by the 3rd of June next year, you would have already had a child. I stopped. I said, what? And yes, I heard it again. I went back to the chair. I took the Bible I had read and I wrote what I heard in the Bible. But I decided I was not going to say anything to anyone. I remember that one Sunday I was at church and my husband had that Bible and he was going through the Bible and he came across the note and he elbowed me and he pointed the note, and I just did, I said nothing, no discussion whatsoever. But secretly I would be saying to God, Lord, I am trusting you at your words. I believe that by the 3rd of June next year, I would have already had a child. In September, we went on our vacation on the beginning of September, and I kept counting. I kept saying to the Lord, if by the 3rd of June next year, I would have already had a child, shouldn't I be pregnant by now? That's what I'm saying to God. But During the course of the vacation, I realized that I started to feel a bit not my usual self. I would be really sleepy. I would feel sick. I lost my appetite and so on. So at the end of the vacation, when we returned to the island where we lived and worked, I went and visited the doctor, and it was confirmed that I was pregnant. And then I began to say to the Lord, if you can do this, then I want a girl. I want her to look just like her daddy, but I don't want her to have his nose. Yes, I believe that there was nothing too hard for God to do. I remember one night I dreamt that I gave birth to a daughter, and I saw how she looked. She was a beautiful baby. And then I began to pray and say, Lord, I want to have a natural birth. I don't want my daughter to be too big that there's any complications. Another night I dreamt I gave birth to a daughter that weighed 6 pounds. And then I began praying that I would find favors in the hospital, that I would be well taken care of. I went into labor on the 13th of May 2002, and I went into the hospital on the morning of the 14th of May. When I checked into the hospital, the person who was in charge of the ward was about to change shift and stayed back and admitted me and was so kind and courteous. And then when that shift changed, someone came on that I knew from the village that I grew up in. And then when that shift changed, someone came on shift who and I was Sunday school student. I received favor and great care. And then at the end of that shift, a former co-worker's wife came on who also took excellent care of me. And yes, I gave birth to a beautiful baby girl. And yes, she was exactly 6 pounds. This experience is just one of the many experiences I have had that prove that God can do anything. Genesis 18 and verse 14 asks the question, is there anything too hard for the Lord? Without a shadow of a doubt, I can say there is nothing too hard, because I have proven him over and over again. What is your dire need? I don't know what it is, but it doesn't matter what it is, because God, my God, he is still able to do exceedingly abundantly above all that you can ever ask or think. He's a God that always outdo himself. So dry your tears, cast your cares upon him, because he cares for you, and trust him and watch and see how he delivers. God bless you.